If you're building the wrong infantry pet in Cow Dragons, you're not just losing little damage. You're losing fights you should actually win. You're wasting regenerational potions, and in some cases, you're putting a perfect pet on the wrong hero and get some fake value. I want to make this thing very simple. This is not just a pet showcase. This is a real infantry pet tier list in Cow of Dragons, built around actual infantry heroes, real fighting value, and one big question: which pet help your infantry march win the most fights for the longest time? And to be fair, I actually invest so much time in this, getting all of the infantry heroes. From these infantry heroes, I actually check it out and check some reports, test it outside, mostly against Darkling Patrols, because I believe the test with Darkling Patrols is the most accurate one, and not the PvP one, because the PvP one, there is just a different situation you can enter, and in some cases you're going to be good, in some cases not. But anyway, this is my tier list for infantry pets in Cow of Dragons. So far from overall pets, I actually only bring Venom Lizard because I strongly believe this pet is made for the infantry and for marksmen, to be fair. Maybe Hoskinara can work perfectly well, but anyway. Now the tier system, what is going to be the tier system? And here, she's pretty simple. S tier means top value, top impact, and a pet I won't be happy to invest in strong infantry use. A tier means very strong but more narrow or more conditional pet. B tier means usable but not top choice for your account need, and C tier means niche, backup, or bait for most players. So let's start with the first pet. This is going to be a C tier. This is going to be the Frost Bear. Now Frost Bear for me and C tier, and I'm going to explain why. Again, let's start with the Frost Bear. Frost Bear looks interesting because it works when your Legion get a shield. Then after that, your pet get a chance to strike when you're hit by normal attacks. On paper, that sounds perfect for tank infantry, but there is an issue. But the issue is simple. Frost Bear needs shield support. I mean, I'm going to actually open the game and show you the Frost Bear. Yeah, this is the Frost Bear, and as you can see, when your Legion get a shield, your war pet giant primitive strike, 40% chance to do damage to the target Legion upon being hit by normal attack for 5 seconds. So you actually need a shield. Who have shield? Madeline is having shield, Danfield is having shield, Thea is also having shield, but I don't think somebody is using Thea with infantry. Let's be fair here. And maybe Ileana, I can say Ileana can also go, but this is an epic hero, and at one point you're not going to use epic hero, you're going to use a legendary infantry heroes. So it's like 2 heroes that can provide you with this shield. So for me personally, it's just a C tier. The Frost Bear is just a C tier. Now, why is actually C tier? Let's get a little more in deep. This is why it's actually C tier, just because of the shield. Not because it's useless, not because it can never get used, but because compared to the other infantry pets, it's too conditional and too easy to be replaced. Even recent meta is more like, you know, it's just low priority for every player. So this is for the Frost Bear. Now jumping over the next one, here we're actually going to B tier, and this is Strip Bear. Next is Strip Bear. Let me just move it to the B tier, and yeah, Strip Bear is for me a B tier. Now Strip Bear give value when your Legion is healed by hero skill, and then it give Vigor which mean extra HP. And it can also reduce warped skill damage taken and extend the duration of that HP buff. Now, if we go a little more in detail about the Strip Bear, this is basically, you're going to see, every time your Legion is healed by hero skill, it get Vigor and bonus of HP bonus for 5 seconds. A Vigor effect bonus is like 0.762. I don't know what is these numbers here, but yeah, as you can see, the Vigor effect is get increased. This is one of the things that I really like. Strip Bear is that Vigor effect, and we're going to check out the other spell also. And Friendship. When Friendship grant Legion Vigor, the Legion also takes like up to 10% less warped skill damage. Which, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this because it's less warped skill damage. But still, at the end of the day, it's actually giving this Vigor that I believe is one of the most important thing for heroes in Call of Duty, especially the infantry heroes. Now, why it sound good? Now listen, extra HP or healing is not bad. In fact, it's very sustained heavy march that can look pretty nice. If you're trying to make one fat annoying infantry march that just refuse to fall over, well, Strip Bear, it actually make some sense right there. Obviously, it's on B tier, so it can be way better. It can be way better pets with this one over this one, but still. Now, what is the problem? Most infantry players do not need more tank, and with the latest infantry heroes like Ewanir, Kuma, Goresh, I don't think you need that much more tank units. Even Downfell is giving pretty solid shield. They need tank plus pressure, tank plus straight value, tank plus actual fighting swing. Strip Bear often feels like help you to exist, but not to actually dominate. Now, why is B tier? I think I already explained, but yeah. This is the reason the Strip Bear is B tier for me. Now, jumping over the next level. So we're having like 1C and we're having 1B, but right now we're jumping over the A tier. And for A tier is going to be a Venom Lizard. Yes, some people are going to say this should be S tier, but let me explain everything and why for me this is actually a B tier. Compare it, A tier compared to the other one. Now let's get in. Venom Lizard goes into A tier for me, not S, but very respectable A tier. It's a very solid A tier. You know, it's not like between a B and A and I decide to go to A. It's actually a very solid A. Now, why? Because this pet is simple, annoying, and easy to get a value from. When your Legion get hit by normal attacks, it has a chance to inflict poison. Okay, maybe I should actually show the pet skill. I really like to do this showing the pet skill and not like waiting people to have a nice imagination. But yeah, this is actually the pet skill of the Venom Lizard. When your Legion get hit by normal attacks, it have chance to inflict poison. That means the pet does not need a fancy combo. It just needs the enemy to hit you. That's why I say Venom Lizard is nice for marksmans like Hoskinara. Brother, Hoskinara is crazy. I still believe till this day it's a very solid combo. And that's why I believe is working very nice with infantry. And the biggest plus is that it's having range that is very far. And to be fair, the infantry get hit a lot. I mean, especially if you're frontline, body blocking or taking focus in a brawl. So even Venom Lizard is not flashy in practical. It gives real value to the players who need a stable pet before they get deep generation options. And still this they actually use Venom Lizard. Now here is the thing. Something that I really don't like about the Venom Lizard is this can be triggered once every 1 second. This can get triggered every 1 second. We're going to go in the next how to say it, pets, and you're going to see what is the difference there. And this is very low triggering chance. The thing that I like is very far. That is also catching mages, because we're going to see that there is a pet that is in melee radius, but is doing crazy amount of damage, but still in the melee radius. The infection is going to actually infect even your mage or marksman legions. It's not going to be, just the infantry or cavalry that are around this pet. Now, why it's not S tier? Because its ceiling is not crazy. It's not a pet that transforms your march. It's a pet that help your march work. But big difference, and is Breach a workhorse, not the final boss. Definitely it's not the final boss, the Venom Lizard, even though that there is a huge hype around Venom Lizard. That's why I actually put him on A score, let's say it like this. The other A tier is going to be a Broom Bear. Next is Broom Bear. I'm just going to move the Broom Bear. It's also going to be an A, and I'm going to explain why. And this is where the things start getting more dangerous, especially from Broom Bear. And believe it or not, I was using Broom Bear for a very long time. Even I catch the Broom Bear with 2-star, and from this moment, this is the most used pet for me, because I get a 2-star. I actually make some investment. It's not full investment, to be fair, but I definitely have some crazy experience with the Broom Bear. Now let's talk about the Broom Bear. Broom Bear gain value from counterattacks, stack marks, and then turn the next rage skill moment into area damage. This is why more interesting for real infantry fight, because it's benefiting from the hits and also is getting value from the counterattacks. Now, why it's actually working? Because infantry loves getting hit, and that is already the soul of many infantry marches. And if you set up want counterattack pressure, Broom Bear starts making real sense fast. Now, I don't say this is the best pet. Obviously, we're at tier A, but believe it or not, I actually get some good results with the Broom Bear. I really wish my Broom Bear to have way bigger critical rate, and from there to put also some critical damage and etc. This is not very good builded Broom Bear. I want to point out this thing, so don't copy this build. Maybe from here you can get this one, quickening, which is the talent skill of the pet, and maybe this one. The other one is not like 100% sure. Fierce attack is also good, but it's more rally related pet. So let me open the book, and yeah, this is actually where the Broom Bear live, and all the recommended skills from the game is working perfectly well with the Broom Bear. But still, it's a but very how to say it, you can combine this pet with different infantry marches. Now, the thing I don't like is having rage skill. Compared to Venom Lizard is a passive skill, so it can trigger at any time. It's a passive one. Till the Broom Bear, you have to actually generate enough rage to be able to fire up what the Broom Bear is having. But still, I believe this pet is a very solid. Now, why it's not S tier? Still, I keep Broom Bear A tier, not S tier, because it's more hero depending and style depending. That's the top two. basically the top two is just better from the Broom Bear, and it can be amazing, but not every infantry account wants that exact shape. So yeah, let's go over the other A tier, and this is going to be where it is going to be. It's going to be Mossrock Aurochs, and I'm going to just move him obviously to Mossrock Aurochs is going to be an A tier. Now, why is A tier for me personally Mossrock Aurochs? Now let's talk about the Mossrock Aurochs. As I already mentioned, this pet is very important because it's lined up with Kuma and Lei Kuan style infantry. It gives HP, and when enemy damage you, it answer back with skill damage. This is very on brand for bulky fight in the pocket infantry. Now, why Mossrock Aurochs is strong? Mossrock is strong because it has both stat pressure and punishment pressure. And it is not only saving I will serve, it's say I will keep hitting, I will tax you for it. This is where infantry pets start becoming scary. On Kuma, this makes sense because Kuma love long, dirty fights where the HP swings matter. On the Lei Kuan, it also makes sense because that's the hero already bring huge HP value and damage reduction into the march. So Mossrock Aurochs fits the identity perfectly well. But the problem is that Mossrock Aurochs is not the final answer for every infantry generation. It is amazing in its line, but that line is still more specific than the S tier pets. If you're not using the right heroes, Mossrock Aurochs lose a lot of his shine. And maybe some players is going to say, let me just go directly over the pet. Some players may say, okay, but it's actually doing a good amount of damage and etc. It's giving HP, like 10% HP. But this 10% HP is for 3 seconds. I want to point out this thing. And the skill damage factor is not crazy. It's actually hitting 2 times. The first hit can go skill damage factor up to 28. And the second one is going to be up to 48. Obviously, this is just the basis of the spell. But at the end of the day, this is what this pet is giving. I see many people actually use this pet, and some people is going to say it's S tier, but for me personally, this pet is not actually S tier. Now, why is A tier? Maybe it's going to be asked people. So Mossrock is A tier, very strong, very real, very worth respecting, but I do not put it above top 2 because it's more tiered to Kuma and Lei Kuan world, because meta samurais say almost the same thing. You are on that generation, and if the pet is specifically for this generation, it cannot be an S tier because it cannot fit with rest. It's not that generic pet bringing some crazy value. So let's jump over the first S tier, and this is from where the S tier is actually beginning, and this is going to be Moon Bear. May surprise somebody, but for me Moon Bear is a very, very solid pet. Now let's hit the S tier. Moon Bear is absolutely one of the best infantry pets because it's turned strong rage skill infantry into real threat across multiple targets. And why Moon Bear is crazy, the other thing I want to point out, maybe it's going to be good to actually show the spell of the Moon Bear. So if I go and I find where's the Moon Bear, it's not one of the latest pets, but still it's a very solid pet in my opinion. Moon Rage hits up to 3 enemy legions, and for infantry it get 100% more damage. That matter a lot already. Then is scales from the total rage skill damage of your commander and deputy. So when your hero pair already brings real rage pressure, Moon Bear rides that wave. And it's not for specific heroes. This is the beautiful thing for Moon Bear. You're going to see Moon Bear with Li Kuan Kuma, Goresh Skogo, Danfel with Mogro or whatever. The Moon Bear is so universal, so good pet. This is the main reason I actually put it as a S tier. It's not that tied to specific combo. So when your hero pair already it's basically bring crazy pressure. Why that matter? This mean Moon Bear does not just exist beside your heroes, it grow with them. If your March already has a strong rage output, Moon Bear become a real multiplayer, not just accessory. And here is the thing about the Moon Bear. As I already mentioned, it's like deals 100% more damage when cast by an infantry legion. You want to cast this pet with infantry, obviously. You don't want to use it with cavalry or something like this. So imagine how universal this pet is, that is having extra damage if you use it with the infantry, which is absolutely wild. Now, Moon Bear is S tier because it offers both ceiling and relevance. It can swing real fights, it scales when with strong infantry heroes, and it does not need one weird gymstick or to function. You don't need something specific for this pet to function properly. Even current 2026 pet priority ranking still describe that Moon Bear is incredible infantry pet, because I always watch what is happening around the pets, what test other people has done, and I believe Moon Bear is a S tier. And finally, the last S tier, this is going to be Brimstone Aurochs. Let me just put the final the final boss on the top of the food chain. Oh my god, this pet, brother. Now the newest debate, Brimstone Aurochs. Yes, I put it as a S tier, but listen carefully. This is not universal S tier. This is Joran S era S tier, and not only Joran, but with Joran is becoming absolutely wild. Now, why Brimstone is so high? Brimstone give parry chance. Now, let me just show you the pet, because this pet is giving you something that none of the other pets is giving you, and this is the Legion parry chance is increased by 5%, and its max parries per second is increased by 1. Now 5%, that means every 20 hits, if you only have this pet, every 20 hits, which is not that hard to be achieved, you're going to get 1 parry. Parry is when taking normal attack damage, reduce that damage to 0 without affecting the counter attack. So you're going to receive 0 damage, and you're going to do a counter attack to the enemy. That's why this pet is a S tier. Now it can be just like 5% chance for the parry. Let's check it. 75% damage, do some damage, but still this is like 5% chance to ignore incoming normal attack damage. This is absolutely wild for a pet. So yeah, Brimstone give parry chance, increase max parries per second, and then rewards successful parries with extra physical damage. This is not random. This is not broad utility. This is a pet built to squeeze Joran's identity, and at the same time is extremely helpful for the other heroes. And where is the everything changes? Yeah, this pet is more like for the Joran. I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, S tier, but it's a Joran S tier. Yeah, that's correct, but I strongly believe that this pet is a S tier just because give you this 5% chance to parry any incoming damage, and when you do a successful parry, you're going to do extra physical damage to the target, some damage factor that can be increased. This is, yeah, additional one. Damage to the target, deals damage to the target legion, some damage factor, and get this smoke screen mark. So it's actually doing pretty nice damage, like 40, but when you get parry is going to give like 75. I actually have so many reports with this hero from other players, to be fair. I mean, where was the other players? Yeah, as here we have one bad boy who actually built this pet very nicely, and yeah, it's more like Joran, but still this pet is doing absolutely crazy damage compared to the other infantry heroes that right now we're having in Call of Dragons. So this is why I actually put it on the first place. It's just so heavy and so good with Joran, but at the end of the day it's doing damage and give you 5% chance to ignore normal attack damage, which I think is absolutely huge, because you can get attacked by 20 legions and every second you're going to basically ignore 1 damage, and you're going to do this parry, you're going to bring back the counter attack. On top of that, you're going to do extra damage to this legion that you do parry. Obviously with Joran this pet is becoming absolutely wild, but for me this is a complete S tier pet, and yeah, build it with Joran, but still it can be used with other heroes. So yeah guys, this is my tier list for the pets, infantry pets in Call of Dragons. If you have some questions or you have some opinion about the tier list, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to check them out. So far I wish you a great day, and see you in the next video.